Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're joining us from. We have today another capture the flag challenge that we are going to resolve together. So you can see the solution. This is part of Wizer's secure code training activities that we're doing. We have the courses, as you guys know, and we also have the CTF platform. This is the public one, which means any one of you who's watching this can try it out later. We'll share the link. You can also see it at the top. And we also have the private one, which is for companies. With that said, this one is actually really interesting. I think you will love this one. It's hard, but I think the beauty is that, you know what, I won't jump ahead of myself. I'll let Itzik yeah, why don't you talk about the CTF, and then we'll show how to solve it, and I think then you will understand why this is so cool.
Absolutely, we can have a conversation. Great. So thank you, Gabby. So in this CTF challenge, you are required to read the content of the OS pass WD file. We're doing that a lot to show that you have remote execution capabilities. So what's going on here is we had a similar challenge where there's a calc method that you send calculations to, and it's actually using this constructor, the function constructor, and the function constructor actually links or attaches text that is coming from the input. Okay. However, there's also a validation method that takes the calc input and validates it. What does it do? It makes sure that none of the keywords here, process, spawn, sync, and spawn, exist here, to make sure that you're not doing anything that is out of the ordinary. Okay. So if you want to do something ordinary, it's not going to be very easy for you. However, it's still, something we can do.
Cool. So let's show the let's go over the solution. But just to recap, you're getting a string input, and there is a function at the bottom, and you sanitize the input with different keywords just to make sure nobody is taking advantage of this and trying to run spawn a process or stuff like that, or basically do anything that will run code on the server.
Exactly. We wanted to calculate, nothing more.
Okay.
Okay?
So yeah, so let's go over the solution for the CTF.
Absolutely. So the solution is, let's jump into the solution and explain why it's solving. So in this challenge, the solution, the way you solve it, the way you hack it, is you actually trick the system and avoid using any of the unallowed words, right? So to do that, in this case, I'm using eval and A2B, which actually converts base 64 to actual text. So obviously in the base 64, there won't be any one of the unallowed words because it's encoded. Okay. So what am I doing here? I'm actually creating the spawn by myself, creating it here and encoding it in base 64 to avoid any search replay or any search of the keywords. And then at the end here, I'm actually running spawn sync after I define it myself. So the base 64 includes the entire method. I'm running it here. So when you go back to the solution, running this will get us the entire passwd file.
Cool. So what's really nice here is that we think to ourselves as developers, I'm just going to make sure those keywords are not in the string. And voila, you can see here, you can encode it in a way that your function, your sanitizing function that is looking for all those keywords, don't detect it.
Exactly.
Having said that, when we were preparing for this, go back to the solution.
That's the solution,
Yeah.
yep.
So, not this, to the where it says calc eval. Yeah.
Yep.
So this is what you're sending to the. This is your payload.
Exactly. That's the payload.
And I asked you, but look, there's eval over there. So if you would have avoided this if you just added eval. Is the problem just that we need a bigger list? Is that what we need? Is that the solution? Like, and you said no. So I wanted to show people why even something like as simple as eval or anything, you can basically get away with no keywords at all.
Exactly, absolutely. So there are multiple solutions to this, but there's this JSFAQ, which actually is the basics and the atomic parts of JavaScript. Okay, and so using those plain characters, 6 different characters overall, you can represent any type of JavaScript that you want. So, for example, I showed Gabby that we can eval alert 0 or whatever we want, and that's the code. So if you take this, it just runs on a JavaScript VM. So if you put that in addition, nobody would find. So as an example, you could encode the entire code that I just showed you on base 64. You could put that as the input, and it will gladly run it. So the keywords are not strong enough.
Cool. So this is like the assembly for JavaScript. This is the building
Exactly.
blocks, guys. This is like the lowest you can get, if as far as I understand. This is the lowest you can get in JavaScript. This is the building blocks of JavaScript, and if you use this, you basically avoid, or you can sort of translate any of the injected script to whatever you want.
Exactly, exactly. It's pretty
This is
powerful, and not many people know about it. But if you know about it, you understand that there's no way you can get away with just searching words and disallowing them.
cool. Which this brings us to the key takeaways.
Exactly.
So let's do that.
So in this CTF challenge, the key takeaways for the calculator are uh, never use eval or string function. Very similar. So string function is a little weaker because it doesn't give you context. But as you notice, we can bring the context in by using all sorts of base 64 or JSFAQ or other things. There are multiple ways that I can import. There are multiple bypasses, and the fact that I'm using them is the problem. Don't try to avoid it because it's very, very hard to get all the options right and avoid completely malicious code. The second one is make sure you understand the validation that you need to make. So when you're sanitizing the input, you want to avoid all sorts of risks. You need to totally understand, completely understand what you're trying to do. So in our previous challenge, require was there, and that was, oh, easy, I can use require. Here you don't have the require, but it doesn't solve the problem because there are still other cryptic ways to bypass the validation and import libraries into your code. So in general, if we step back, understand what you're trying to sanitize for, understand the scope of the validation that you need to do. And then lastly, apply the least privileges approach, which we are mentioning a lot of time in remote execution, especially when we go out of the process and try to get all sorts of files and other things. If you limit the process permissions to not be able to get to those places, it won't be able to. So even if you were able to inject code, it won't be able to get to pass WD and other things. That's it.
Cool. And I think this is sort of the reason why we're doing the secure code training, because there's really no chance for most people, for most developers, like expecting a developer to somehow know about this. It's not something that even if you learned, you don't remember because you haven't practiced it. And developers are focused on building stuff and not JS fuck coding the JavaScript. Like nobody's thinking about it. Nobody remembers that, even if they knew about it or putting it in the context of secure coding. So it's really important that developers see this, learn this, because it will make them so much better at writing secure code, and also make an app that has less bugs in general.
Absolutely.
So, if any one of you want to test this out, what we just showed you, wizer-ctf.com, there it is. It's challenge number 22. It's a retired one. If you can solve it, you can see that it works. However, you won't get into the leaderboard because the solution is there. If you want to get into the leaderboard and you want to try it out, you can go to the latest challenge. There are 6 active ones. Every 2 weeks we introduce a new one, and we retire an old one. So there's always 6 challenges, and the leaderboard is based on the best of these 6 challenges. So you always have a chance, even if there are people out there that solved 30, 40, the leaderboard is based on the last 6. So you always have a chance to shine. Um, and I think it's a great, first of all, it's fun, it's challenging. We also have a community, so you can join the community in the Discord and you can chat with people, and maybe some of them will. You can work as a team to try to solve this, and that's it. If you want something like this private to your company, that's part of the Wizer platform. So we have this as well as part of the Wizer Secure Code training. That is part of the Wizer app, and that's in Wizer Dash training. And once you sign up for free, by the way, you can test out the private CTF platform. So you can have a tournament like this for your team. So that's it. Itzik, thank you very much again. And we'll see you all next week. We're going to solve, I guess, challenge number 23, correct?
Exactly.
Cool. Great. Bye bye. Take care. Have a good weekend.